Hello and welcome back to the channel, Capsules. This is Landes and we are going to look at another fitting guide. This week we'll be looking at the Harbinger Prototype, which you can access when you reach tech level 7. So this is one of the first of the battle cruisers that you can gain access to into the game, and even though they might not be as powerful as the other battle cruisers that you get at tech level 8 and above, anyway, this is a nice boost compared to the cruiser that you may or you were piloting just before. The design of the ships that I will be showcasing today has been calibrated towards tier level 6, 7 encounters, because as I was reaching tech level 7 I was not still able to do the hard mode encounters. But anyway, you will see at the end of the video, just for the showcase, I went for tier 8 encounters, and the ship was perfectly capable of managing very easily. So I would say with this kind of build, tech level 6, 7 and 8 you can do not necessarily free FK, but at least with very little difficulty. So if we move now to the ship's tree and the ship's trade, so you will see that your Harbinger Prototype, so it has one drone tubes, which, as you will see later on, is very useless if you go for a kiting build. 6 high slots for weapon, 3 medium, 5 lows, and 3 of each of the internal rigs. The first thing which is important to note is the roll bonus. So roll bonus is really focusing on range, and this is why, although I've seen brawlers made out of the Harbinger Prototype and other first line battle cruisers, for me this is not necessarily the optimal, especially since you don't get any specific bonuses to your passive or active tanking, except for the Cyclone, which has a bonus to passive tanking. All the others you get the miscellaneous advantages, but nothing that would strengthen your capacity to soak up damage. So that's why I would highly recommend going for a kiting build rather than the Brawler, although, as I've said, Brawler is perfectly viable in that case. So hold bonus 25% medium laser optimal range and plus 25% accuracy fall off, so that will already basically extend the kiting range that we will be achieving with this ship. And my objective was to get something in between close 50 kilometers for the orbiting range and over 400 DPS in terms of raw damage output. Second point which is important is your advanced medium laser skills. Okay, this will grant you 9% increased damage, so 45% in total if you get to level 5, but more importantly, it will work on your capacitor need, reducing by 10% per level, so up to 50% reduction in capacitor when you are firing, and that will be the key point to get that ship really not necessarily capacitor stable, but capable anyway of extended fight and managing large wave of enemies without the need to warp out and regen your capacitor. So this is really important. If you can max it to 5, that's good. Personally, I'm 3 or 4, and still the ship is fairly usable, and I don't have any specific issues in terms of capacitor, but an additional layer would bring more safety and a more comfortable playstyle in there. Looking at the next bonus that you receive for the ships, battlecruiser command, you will get a reduction in your inertia modifier, meaning that your ship will be a bit more nimble and will maneuver a bit faster. Personally, I think for a ship of this size, I'm not sure this is really important, especially for a kiting build where you will be orbiting anyway at a very high range. But if you go for the Brawler build, that may be something that will be helpful in the end, moving from target to target and orbiting at close range. As regards the general characteristics of the ship, so you see that we are a bit above 25k in terms of overall defense, and we will look at the spreads there. Flight velocity 180. With my own skill level now I'm more to 230, something like that, which is already nice in terms of flight velocity. Warp speed 2.7 AU, typical for battle cruisers. Very nice capacitor. Power grid is quite significant as well, and the cargo hold, well, 750. That's sufficient to keep up and soak the loot of your enemies in after the fight. So in terms of relevant skill, well, I'm not teaching you anything there, anything that goes with battlecruiser. So we have seen battlecruiser command will give you the inertia modifier. Battlecruiser defense will give you this upgraded resistance in terms of shields, in terms of armor, in internals. So as you can see, my skills are already at a significant level. I'm training the level 5 in defense, but I was already 4-4 before, so that's why you will see that the ship is a bit above the base stats that we have seen previously. Engineering is also important because it will give you that extra capacitor just to avoid running dry in mid-fight or needing to warp out to regen. I still need to move up to 5-5 in that, because one battlecruiser is at the moment my main ship that I fly, and having more cap is really more comfortable in terms of being able either to fire depending on the weapon type, but also in terms of managing the other modules and the armor repair or shield booster depending in there. Target management, yeah, that will help you lock on your target and have the full 6 target locked. But the other skill which doesn't show here, of course, as we have seen previously, is the advanced medium laser upgrade. That is really the key skill that you need to have for this this ship. So now if we move back to the fitting, so as I've said, we will be looking at a kiting build. So naturally, medium laser kiting build, that is medium beam lasers. So I went for officer gear in there because they were quite cheap. It was at the moment I bought them, it was before you could actually recycle them, so they were going at a very low price. So you see that I'm nearly at 70 DPS per unit. But what is most important to look at is at the optimal range. So you see that I have a 35 kilometers optimal range and about 30-ish in terms of accuracy fall off. So it means that I will be orbiting with this ship in between 35 to 48, and most likely closer to 48 to be on the safe side and be in the good margin in terms of effectiveness. You could still go a bit further than that if you have a higher skill than I have in medium lasers. Probably you could go with the same build up to the 50 landmark that I was trying to reach, but anyway, 48 is already a very good and very safe range to orbit for this tier 6 to tier 8 range mission that we wanted to do. In terms of DPS, so you see that the build is a bit above the 400 landmark that I was targeting, so 410. Cold, when I'm running the heatsink, I move up to 510, 520, which is very nice. The drone, as I will be orbiting well above the 19 kilometer range, basically the drone will do nothing unless a very fast ship would escape me and get into that range, but that never happened. So basically, yes, I have a drone fitted, but it doesn't serve any purpose up to now. So defense wise, you see that shield, I got a bit above 7,500. I have seen people fit actually it as a shield tank, and so I wouldn't be shocked if instead of going for the armor tank as I did, you would do a shield tank and put a shield booster and some form of shield hardener or shield resistance in the internal rigs. I mean, as you will be orbiting at long range, you basically will not sustain that much damage, and so it can maybe be even preferable to have the shield booster to repair rather than the armor. As you can see here, armor over 12k, but that is because I have also some internal rigs fitted. You see that the resistance is also quite nice, so I'm going from 50 in electromagnetic up to 20% in explosive, which is already good. With the hardener fitted, that goes a bit higher, so I'm ranging from 60 in electromagnetic, and it goes down to about 35 in explosive. So still an improvement, but not yet something that I would call the passive tank in any form and in any sense. In terms of structure, 8k, so even if your armor get down, you still have a significant buffer there to try to escape to safety. Capacitor wise, so you see that I have a 3 minute 30. I'm not capacitor stable, but I don't care, because anyway I won't be running all of the module at the same time. I mean, basically the mid slot, nothing will be running, maybe the EM that I fitted there, but the scrambler or the webifier, they are just there for the safety, nothing more. And the same goes for the afterburners and the other modules. They will not be running continuously, so I'm pretty good in there, and you will see it in the showcase. I didn't even go below 60-70% on my capacitor while firing continuously at the target. Targeting, so I won't go there. So it's a battlecruiser, so it's very slow to target. That's why you will see in the internals I try to compensate a bit on that. And as regard the navigation, we already discussed, and you can see the difference in between what I've showcased in the base stats at 180, and here I'm already at 230 meters per second. So it's a very nice difference, and it helps when you have to loot and when you have to move around faster. So moving back to the fittings, mid-slot's kind of difficult to actually fit something useful in there. So I went for the basic package, so webifier and the scrambler, just in case something would move really fast and I would get overwhelmed with fast target. Then I can slow them down, and either because they're on afterburner, the webifier will be there, and if they are on the micro warp drive, then I can scramble them and put them in the range of my beam lasers, which don't have necessarily a very high tracking speed, so that will help. And the drone, of course, will help in that scenario as well. As regard the low slots, so I went for a very standard and very safe kind of fittings. So afterburner, yeah, you could fit a micro warp drive or an afterburner, would be the same effect. It's just to ensure a bit of mobility and ensure that you would be able to move around and maintain distance should you have a very fast target. That would be very dangerous. I went for the afterburner this time. I don't remember exactly why. Maybe I didn't have any micro warp drive when I fitted it. Could be the case, but anyway, any or the other would do the job. And with the afterburner, I have a flight velocity that can reach up to around 440-450, which is quite sufficient to mop up the loot after the fight is over, because you will not be in the same scenario as in the prophecy, where you have to cover extensive distance to get to the loot. On the other hand, I went for a Goje medium repair. This is an armor tank. You've seen most of my resistance comes from armor, and so I put something in there for that. It's also because most of my ship are armor tanks, so my skills are more into armor repairs and then shields, and this is a bit more efficient for me to get the armor repaired than the shield. Now I went then to complement that with an adaptive armor hardener. So you've seen, and I've told you already, the effect it has. This for me is sort of a flex slot. Okay, so you could, if you want to extend the range, put another tracking device. You could put another heatsink if you want more DPS. I mean, that slot is quite open to adjust the build to whatever you want to do. More DPS, more range, or if you want it to be even more tankier, you could put a damage control unit, you could put something else in there, like a plate armor to get even more armor in there. Do as you please. It's the flex slot in the lows. Next, of course, I have a basic heatsink just to increase the general damage, cold and hot. It will also increase your activation time, so your beam lasers will be firing faster. Just be careful. If your beam laser fire faster, it means the capacitor will be drained even faster. So be careful when you run maybe 2 of those. It can have a more significant impact on your capacitor usage. And last but not least, of course, the tracking computer. That's just to extend the range. So again, this is an officer grade, give me a bit more range there. So when hot, I can basically hit target up to around 72 kilometers. So it means that in terms of strategy, I will target the fast frigates or the interdictors at that range and activate the heatsink and the tracking computer, so I will get 2-3 shots of the 6 beam lasers directly at the target. And most of the time, frigates, they are obliterated, and the interdictors, which are mainly destroyers, they are already well done. And when they reach the 50 landmark, they are destroyed completely, and so they do not even reach me. So that's why that combo in between the heatsink and the tracking computer is very, very useful. Now for the internals, same here. So I have stuff to increase the laser damage, so a laser collision accelerator 1, just to affect the raw damage output. Then I have the burst aerator, which gives me a higher firing rate. So the combination is nice. And the third slot, as with the lows, this is sort of a flex slot, and so you can put here anything that you would like to in terms of increasing maybe the natural resistance to one damage type, explosive or thermal or anything else. I personally went for bonus to my armor hit points because I wanted to be an armor tank, and so just giving me the basic amount of hit points, increasing the hit points and having ability to repair it at a significant rate, I thought was a good combo. Now for the engineering rigs, so I went for a warp core optimizers. So this is really when you're doing a mission where you have elites, so the tier 7, the high-end tier 7, you usually have one elite ship, a frigate. It can scramble you, and so that's why I put the warp core optimizer here. To be honest, it was never ever really useful. So again, you could swap it to something else, either reducing the micro warp drive or afterburner cap usage, or giving another additional memory cell for additional capacitor. You can have some flexibility on this slot. Second one, as I mentioned, is a targeting system controller. Just increase your scan resolution so you target faster, meaning that you can shoot those little flies a bit more easily and further away. And the last one was a semiconductor cell. So this is the meta level 0, so the one you get free with the logging rewards, because at the time I bought the ship I didn't have much money, and those are quite expensive. So I have only a level 0 one. If you can push a level 1, or put 2 level 0 instead of the warp core stabilizers, I think it can really improve on the build and give you a bit more room to breathe in terms of capacitor management. So that's it for the kiting build. So if you want to go Brawler, of course you will swap the beam lasers to pulse lasers, and meaning that you will need to move up close and personal. And then the mid slot will become completely different. The mid slot, you will not use the standard combo as I showcase here, but you will certainly want to put some Nosferatus in there, just to be able to maintain capacitor stability much more than what I am showcasing here. That will be critical, because you will be needing to run your armor hardeners or your armor repairs at all time, and so you need the extra energy drain provided by the Nosferatu. From the experience I have with the Myrmidon, which I outfitted as a Brawler build, 2 or 3 medium would be certainly necessary. I wouldn't go with a single one. I would go certainly for the 3, just to be on the safe side. If you want to be a bit more aggressive, you could then put 2 and have a slot either for a Webifier or a Scrambler, depending on what you want to affect and what you are facing the most. Of course, the low rigs would be completely different. You would still maintain some form of mobility with the afterburner and the micro drive, but you would certainly not use a tracking computer, and you would put in the additional tankiness. So either a second armor repair, which I would be looking at, but potentially some armor plating or reactive armor hardener, depending on whether you want to go active tanking and out healing the damage that you have, or basically go passive and reduce the amount you take by augmenting your resistance in terms of the armor. I would then certainly see some change in the internals as well in terms of the weapon rigs. I would certainly see only a single one for affecting the damage output, but getting something that increased the efficiency of your armor repairs and decrease the cycle time. So that would be certainly 2, and potentially a 3rd one, depending again on how you feel about the ships and how aggressive you want to be in terms of DPS. So that's it on my hand for the explanation. So I will append to this video just a short showcase in terms of how it handles in combat situation. You will see at tier 8 encounters. You will see that the 2 first wave I was really cautious about the orbit range and semi-AFKing. The 3rd wave I went a bit more aggressive and let the ships come into closer to my optimal range, 35 kilometers. That was intentional, just to show you the difference in between orbiting at 35, orbiting at 50. At 50 I took close to no damage. My shield was still at 85-90%, whereas when I shifted to the 35 range for the tier 8 encounters, this is not sufficient, and I started to take some damage on my shield, ending up around 40-50% in terms of remaining shield. Okay, still not a big deal, but just to illustrate the difference in between the 2 orbit range that you can have there. Enjoy the video. So if you find it useful, don't hesitate to put a like, put a comment if you have a different opinion, or if you think that I missed something in this build, and subscribe to the channel. Give me hope and still sustain my drive to continue putting content in there. Thank you, and fly safe.